Salam sejahtera, anda bersama saya Rizal Zulkapli dan ini Niaga AWANI. Kita mulakan dengan perkembangan pasaran saham di luar negara. Saham di pasaran Asia dibuka rendah mengekori saham di Wall Street susulan kegusaran pandemik COVID-19 yang terus meningkat. Saham di Wall Street ditutup rendah pada Isnin dengan pelabur ambil kira pilihan raya Georgia dan juga peningkatan kes COVID-19. Kesemua tiga indeks utama didagangkan menurun ke tahap terendah dalam 2 minggu.
Menurut Reuters, ketika ini pelabur gusar jika Demokrat juga akan kawal Dewan Senat. Penganalisis yang ditemu buat Astro AWANI dari FXTM menyatakan jika Demokrat menang, ia akan kawal kedua-dua Senat dan Dewan Perwakilan. Ini dijangka memudahkan Demokrat untuk lulus undang-undang untuk kawal pasaran kewangan dan syarikat di Amerika. Jumlah kematian akibat COVID-19 di Amerika kini sekitar 350,000. Kesemua sektor catat kejatuhan namun perbelanjaan pengguna meningkat. Indeks Dow Jones jatuh 1.25%, S&P 500 jatuh 1.4% dan Nasdaq jatuh 1.47%. Ini adalah antara kejatuhan terbesar sejak Oktober dan Disember. Dalam masa yang sama, aktiviti pengeluaran di Amerika meningkat dengan kadar terpantas dalam 6 tahun pada Disember.
Dan pada Isnin, ringgit ditutup tinggi berbanding dolar Amerika dalam dagangan pertama tahun baru ini. Ini sejajar dengan prestasi mata wang negara sedang pesat membangun Asia.
Menurut laporan bernama yang memetik Ketua Pakar Ekonomi Bank Islam Malaysia Berhad, Muhammad Afzal Nizam Abdul Rashid, minat belian berterusan daripada minggu lepas berikutan keyakinan terhadap pemulihan pertumbuhan global dan pelancaran vaksin di seluruh dunia. Pada 6 petang Isnin, ringgit meningkat kepada 4.0040, 4.0090 berbanding dolar Amerika. Afzal Nizam berkata penurunan dolar Amerika dan peningkatan harga minyak mentah Brent ke paras $53 setong menjadi penyokong utama kenaikan ringgit. Beliau berkata keputusan OPEC Plus mengenai kota pengeluaran minyak juga akan menjadi tumpuan utama pelabur minggu ini. Ringgit diniagakan kebanyakannya tinggi berbanding mata wang utama lain kecuali dolar Singapura.
Dan untuk membincangkan berkenaan dengan prestasi ringgit, kita bersama dengan Shan Said, Ketua Pakar Ekonomi Juwai IQI. Shan, ringgit breached the 4.00 mark yesterday against the USD. You've been sharing since last year that the dollar is heading for significant depreciation. Why is the dollar getting the beating right now?
It's very simple because Fed has unable to provide support to US dollar. Fed has signaled to the market that they don't have the policy instruments to spur growth. Plus, if you see Jerome Powell's statement has been coming that he thinks monetary policy is done. Now it is a fiscal policy that has to do the magic. So I think the message is very clear. US dollar has lost 16% of its value last year, and this year we expect US dollar to depreciate significantly by 20%. So the market will be having a significant risk, especially in terms of US dollar depreciating.
But what's the trigger point for investors indicating that the Fed is also panicking and perhaps does not have a policy lever to spur growth? If you recall, investors were also saying that ringgit would crash in 2015-2016, but it never happened.
I think Jerome Powell has said that monetary policy is done. It is now the fiscal policy that has to do the magic. So he has thrown the ball to the federal government, to Donald Trump's government, that, you have to do the magic. But with only 19 days to go, how Donald Trump or even the president-elect Joe Biden would do the magic, I find it very hard for US dollar to make a comeback. Plus, last time when recession was avoided, the interest rates were at 5% in 2006, 2007. Now with zero interest rate, how can you fight recession? So we expect the July IQI, the double-dip recession, is very much on the cards. As far as ringgit is concerned, a crash is is an extreme word. You don't use crash or collapse in the currency market. You use either the currency has depreciated or appreciated. So many pundits and gurus have been wrong about Malaysian ringgit, that Malaysian ringgit will crash or will collapse. We don't see that happening. Ringgit has maintained structural stability for the last 4 or 5 years, and it will continue to do so in the next 2 to 3 years.
So do you think the Fed is doing this, the depreciation of the US dollar deliberately? Is this a tactical move to maybe support the US economy?
Absolutely, Rizal. It's a tactical maneuvering by Fed to let the US dollar go down to help export and to spur the economy. I don't think that this effort will do the magic for US economy because the economy is pretty weak. And right now, most of the consumers, they are not spending money. The stimulus money that people are getting, people are deleveraging. And whenever you are deleveraging in the economy, you have subpar growth. Obviously, when I am paying off my mortgage loan and I am offloading my personal loan or even car loan, I am not contributing anything to the economy. There is no consumption as such. Economy only moves when you have consumption in the economy, when you have investment. So unfortunately, this is not helping the U.S. economy, and we expect U.S. economy to have a significant downturn this year and for next year as well.
But what about the Fed's target to maybe spur loan growth with the lower interest rates? Do you think that would probably help consumers, businesses to maybe invest and also borrow and spend a bit more?
The only thing the Fed has done to spur stock markets is lower interest rates. U.S. stock markets are all-time high, and they will continue to do so. Every $10 depreciation adds 3% to the earning of S&P 500 companies. So Fed is not in a position to help the economy or to spur growth. And in these challenging times, one policy lever is not enough. You need an amalgamation of fiscal policy and monetary policy to get the economy out of recession. And with the current situation, I find it quite an uphill task, not only for Fed, but also for the U.S. administration, the coming U.S. administration. How they are going to turn around the economy, it's a huge question mark going forward.
Shan, just a bit more on that. Tell us about this transition process and also what investors are looking forward to when Joe Biden swears in in January.
I think the transition process is still a question mark. There's a huge rally tomorrow in Washington, D.C. Today, we will get the results of Georgia. So I think transition process, it doesn't look smooth on paper. And the challenge with President Trump is he's not giving up. Mm-hmm. He is telling his voters that I got 74 million votes and this election is big. But, the decision has been made that President-elect Joe Biden will take the government. But transition process, it doesn't look smooth. And again, it will create ripple in the market. The markets are pricing in the question mark of this transition. But I foresee a significant hiccup along the way as we move into the first quarter.
And you shared on November 30th that in Berita Harian that Ringgit will be trading between 3 Ringgit 67 and 4 Ringgit 10 to $1. Do you still maintain your stance about Ringgit's structural stability in 2021? Why?
Absolutely, July IQI will always make one statement and we stick to that. I think Ringgit will continue to appreciate this year, and we continue to maintain the stance of 3.67 and 4.10. And while Ringgit will maintain structural stability for this year, we expect oil prices to go up, palm oil prices to go up. We expect Chinese investment coming back to the economy, consumer spending going up. So I think these 3-4 positive factors will help the economy that will maintain structural stability. Plus, Bank Negara Malaysia has got significant room in the monetary policy that will support Ringgit as we move into the 4 quarters moving forward.
And Shan, in the near term, what will further support the Ringgit? Could it be the OPEC Plus decision expected this week?
Short run, yes, oil prices going higher will support Ringgit in the short run. But overall, I think with US dollar depreciating significantly, that will give boost to go and be heading towards north.
Shan, also share with us your thoughts on political stability. One political party has called for an early election. Will this maybe add risk to Ringgit?
Absolutely not. I think it's a short-term move. You have structural and political hiccups along the way, but overall at July IQI, we still maintain our stance that macroeconomic stability will be maintained this year.
And with the Malaysian economy in the process of recovering, don't you think that appreciating Ringgit will probably hurt exporters?
Yes, that's a very good question. Obviously, exporters don't want Ringgit to appreciate. The fair market value, in my opinion, should be between 390 and 410 because you are competing with Indonesia, you are competing with Vietnam and Thailand and Philippines. You cannot let your currency appreciate to that level. So I think exporters will be concerned, but they don't want ringgit to appreciate significantly because that will be a huge dent to Malaysian exports. So I don't see that ringgit appreciating beyond 3.67. It will remain in the range of between 3.90 and 4.10 going forward.
You mentioned the other ASEAN countries. What about other emerging market currencies? Are they also appreciating against the dollar, and how are they addressing this?
Absolutely. As you recall, last June, the Thai central bank said that I don't want Thai baht to be trading between 29 and 30. He said, I feel comfortable Thai baht trading between 33 and 35. Obviously, other central banks in ASEAN, they're also worried because nobody is in a position to let the currency appreciate. We are in a depreciating currency mode for the next 2 to 3 years. As long as the Fed will keep the interest rate low till 2023, nobody would allow their currency to appreciate significantly. So obviously, there will be a huge challenge for central banks, not only this year but also for 2022, not to let their currency appreciate significantly because that will hurt the exports of those countries.
And how do you foresee BNM reacting to the appreciating ringgit? Do you see, and how do you see the performance of the Bank Negara last year?
Addressing the first question first, I think Bank Negara has done remarkably well in 2020, taking into account, you and I know that external environment is very, very bad. It is not just bad, it is very precarious. And to maintain structural stability of ringgit, taking into account on 23rd March last year, ringgit was trading at 444. And many pundits and gurus, as you know, they were saying that ringgit is going to crash again. But, you know, we at Dubai IQI maintain our stance that ringgit will be trading between 3.97 and 430. And on 31st December, ringgit was trading at 4.04. So I think Bank Negara has done a pretty good job. Full credit to the Governor Bank Negara. For this year, again, I said Bank Negara has got room. They will continue to monitor the currency market and they will adjust the monetary policy as per the market conditions.
But is there an optimum number for ringgit? I think you mentioned 390 to about 4 ringgit 10. But for businesses out there, for you in the real estate market, for example, is there an optimum number for ringgit to support the recovery right now?
I think it is across board. Nobody wants ringgit to appreciate at this level. Everybody wants to see ringgit between 3.90 and 4.10. I think that's a fair market value of ringgit at present level because if ringgit appreciates, obviously it will hurt exporters very badly and nobody wants to do that. And Bank Negara is fully cognizant of this fact.
And Shan, what about people out there who believe that a good, strong ringgit is a sign that the economy is doing really well? Do you agree with that, that Malaysia needs a stronger ringgit versus the US dollar right now?
Absolutely not. Malaysia's stronger ringgit is not will not help the economy. The only thing that appreciating ringgit does is it takes care of inflation. When ringgit depreciates, it brings in inflation. But when ringgit appreciates, it takes care of inflation. So this is the good part of appreciating ringgit. However, the other side of the coin is you have to move the economy and you have to support the exporters. And exporters at this point of time, they want ringgit to be trading between 3.90 and 4.10. So I think it's a very challenging, it's a trade-off whether to let the currency appreciate or let the currency depreciate. So it's a tough call. It's not easy out there in the market.
And Shan, should investors possibly or perhaps offload their dollar position? Which currency would you dive into now, for example? Perhaps would it be yuan, Swiss franc, or maybe the British pound?
I think that's a very good question. I was talking to a lot of fund managers in London and in Hong Kong. They're offloading their position in US dollar. They're going long on yuan. If you see, Chinese yuan appreciated 10% last year, from 7.11 to 6.45. Swiss franc appreciated 12.5% from 0.99 to 0.88 last year. So I think Chinese yuan is the currency for the emerging market. Swiss franc, and I wouldn't be surprised if pound sterling touches 1.60 this year. So these three currencies would emerge significantly and they will be in the limelight for 2021.
And Shan, perhaps briefly before we end the interview, could you maybe share with us the risk for Ringgit moving forward in the first quarter of 2021?
I think Ringgit will be moving between 3.90 and 4 in the first quarter.
The risk? What about the risk for Ringgit?
Risk for the Ringgit would be, I would say, oil prices going down. That will, drag Ringgit down and maybe it touch 4.05. But overall, we expect since US dollar will depreciate, oil prices will go up, gold prices will go up. That will help Ringgit to appreciate in the short run, especially in the first quarter.
Thank you very much, Shan Said, Ketua Pakar Ekonomi Jual IQM, bincangkan berkenaan dengan Ringgit dan juga apakah prestasi Ringgit bergerak ke hadapan melihat kepada bagaimana Ringgit telah memecahkan tanda 4.0 dalam dagangan pada hari Isnin, pada hari pertama untuk 2021. Kita akan berhenti berehat seketika, kembali selepas ini.